A 67-year-old woman spent 3 years on expensive probiotic capsules for chronic bloating, only to find out they were dying in her stomach acid before ever reaching her gut. By the end of this video, you will know the exact sequence of 6 grocery store staples that rebuild your intestinal wall and feed your microbiome for under $2. Have you ever spent a fortune on a probiotic capsule only to feel absolutely no different after a month? Picture yourself carefully swallowing a premium, extremely high-cost probiotic capsule with your morning glass of water, fully expecting it to miraculously cure your severe, long-standing digestive discomfort. You meticulously take these supplements every single day, completely unaware that you are dropping microscopic living organisms directly into a lethal biological vat of boiling acid. A highly comprehensive 2020 clinical study published in the prominent journal Applied in Environmental Microbiology definitively showed that commercial probiotic strains housed in standard protective capsules demonstrated a devastatingly low 25% survival rate when subjected directly to simulated human stomach acid conditions. Your stomach is purposefully and specifically designed by human evolution to be an incredibly hostile, highly acidic defense environment that actively murders incoming foreign bacteria to protect your immune system. This biological reality means those fragile, incredibly expensive pills you swallow every single morning are completely dissolved and violently destroyed long before they ever actually reach your lower intestine where they are supposedly needed. You are literally flushing your hard-earned money entirely down the drain while your lower gut remains completely starved of the living, beneficial bacteria it desperately requires to function correctly and digest your daily meals. Dead supplements cannot heal a living gut. You are fighting human biology and losing. Stop purchasing heavily marketed, overpriced probiotic supplements immediately and begin actively treating your broken digestion using real, biologically compatible whole foods. You can physically and deliberately accelerate the exact speed at which your body empties solid food from your stomach simply by consuming one incredibly cheap, readily available route right before you sit down to eat. A rigorous, highly controlled 2019 clinical investigation published in the prominent scientific journal Food and Function clearly documented that consuming the specific active compound found exclusively inside fresh ginger root increased the physical speed of human gastric emptying by exactly 25%. When heavy, complex meals simply sit stagnant inside your upper stomach for way too long, the food immediately begins to putrefy and rapidly ferment in the darkness, producing trapped, highly toxic gases that forcefully expand your waistline outward and cause severe, incredibly painful abdominal bloating. By deliberately and systematically accelerating your internal gastric motility through natural chemical means, you completely eliminate this destructive internal fermentation process before it even has the biological chance to start. Your meals pass smoothly and efficiently into the intestinal tract, leaving your stomach feeling incredibly light, completely flat, and completely free of trapped gas even immediately after consuming a massive, heavy dinner. Fast digestion completely prevents painful stomach fermentation. You must move the food to heal the gut. Slice a small thumb-sized piece of fresh ginger root, steep it gently in boiling water for exactly 15 minutes, and drink the liquid 20 minutes before your absolute largest daily meal. The exact same route that forcefully pushes your food down the digestive pipe also acts as a powerful molecular shield that actively repairs microscopic physical damage along your delicate intestinal walls. A detailed 2020 study published in the prestigious journal Nutrients conclusively found that the unique biological compound gingerol rapidly reduced levels of dangerous inflammatory markers directly within the intestinal lining by up to 30% in human test subjects. Chronic, severe inflammation residing quietly in the gut lining is the absolute first biological step toward developing a terrible condition known clinically as intestinal permeability, commonly referred to as leaky gut syndrome. When your delicate intestinal lining becomes chronically inflamed, it begins to physically separate and develop tiny, microscopic holes that actively allow undigested food particles and highly dangerous bacterial toxins to leak directly into your systemic bloodstream. Your aggressive immune system immediately identifies these floating foreign particles as dangerous invaders and launches a massive, system-wide attack, creating widespread physical joint pain, severe brain fog, and chronic skin issues that completely ruin your daily quality of life. Sealing your gut stops system-wide inflammation. You must patch the holes before the damage spreads. Throw away the heavily processed ginger powders sitting in your spice cabinet and grate raw, fresh ginger root directly onto your cooked vegetables immediately before eating. The common pickles sitting casually on your standard grocery store shelf are biologically dead compared to the heavily teeming, living microbial ecosystems found exclusively in naturally fermented cucumbers. A fascinating 2018 study published in the prominent journal Frontiers in Microbiology discovered that naturally fermented vegetables contain between 1 billion and 10 billion colony-forming units of living, highly active bacteria per single serving, vastly exceeding the actual microbial count of most commercial supplements. Standard commercial pickles are heavily soaked in harsh, industrial vinegar brines and aggressively pasteurized at extreme temperatures, a destructive manufacturing process that permanently kills absolutely every single beneficial microorganism present on the vegetable. Naturally fermented pickles, heavily submerged solely in pure water and natural sea salt, actively breed incredibly robust strains of lactobacillus bacteria that have already definitively proven they can survive in a harsh, highly acidic environment. Because these specific bacteria thrive in the acidic fermentation brine, they easily survive the brutal, burning journey completely through your strong stomach acid and actually arrive alive directly inside your intestines where they can begin rapidly multiplying. Vinegar kills the bacteria your body needs. You are eating dead food if it comes from the center aisle. Always inspect the ingredient label closely and immediately return any pickle jar that lists vinegar, choosing only refrigerated brands that contain solely cucumbers, clean water, and sea salt. Ancient traditional healers routinely boiled discarded animal carcasses for days at a time to cure severe digestive ailments, a strange historical practice that modern molecular biology has finally proven to be completely scientifically accurate. A landmark 2017 clinical study published in the journal Current Opinion in Clinical Nutrition and Metabolic Care discovered that glutamine, the most abundant specific amino acid found in properly prepared bone broth, is the absolute primary fuel source for enterocytes, the actual living cells that physically make up your intestinal wall. Your entire internal gut lining physically completely replaces itself every 3 to 5 days, and these brand new, highly fragile cells desperately require massive, constant amounts of available glutamine to physically grow and properly attach to one another. When your daily diet lacks this highly specific structural construction material, the delicate intestinal lining physically regenerates very poorly, actively leaving dangerous microscopic gaps and severe weak spots that allow dangerous toxins to freely pass directly through into your highly sensitive bloodstream. Properly extracting this vital compound from inexpensive bones provides your body with an incredibly massive, highly bioavailable dose of the exact raw building blocks it desperately requires to continuously patch and strongly rebuild those vulnerable, leaking intestinal walls. Bone broth physically rebuilds your damaged intestines. You are drinking the exact mortar that seals the cellular bricks. Submerge 3 pounds of cheap, leftover beef marrow bones in a large slow cooker with 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, and simmer the liquid on low heat for exactly 24 solid hours. Why do the most brilliant, highly educated gastroenterologists constantly insist that increasing your overall microbial diversity is the single most important, highly predictive indicator of your long-term human health and longevity? A massive, highly detailed 2021 meta-analysis published in the prestigious journal Microbiome conclusively confirmed that a significantly higher degree of internal microbial diversity directly correlates with drastically lower clinical rates of severe inflammatory bowel disease, systemic metabolic syndrome, and even major clinical depression. When you possess a highly limited, completely monotonous diet, you forcefully starve out hundreds of unique, incredibly vital bacterial species, leaving your internal gut ecosystem highly vulnerable to sudden hostile takeovers by aggressive, inflammatory pathogenic bacteria that easily cause severe chronic illness. A highly diverse, heavily populated microbiome operates exactly like a dense, strongly protected rainforest, where thousands of totally different species constantly work together in total harmony to flawlessly regulate your highly sensitive immune system, rapidly produce essential daily vitamins, and effortlessly control your physical body weight. Providing your delicate internal system with a massive, constantly rotating variety of living beneficial strains ensures that absolutely no single harmful pathogen can ever successfully gain a dangerous foothold and permanently ruin your daily digestive comfort. Microbial diversity protects you from chronic disease. A narrow diet creates a highly vulnerable internal ecosystem. Deliberately introduce at least 3 totally distinct, unique varieties of living fermented foods into your weekly nutritional rotation to forcefully broaden your highly protective internal bacterial portfolio. If you are finally understanding exactly how your daily food choices either build or completely destroy your internal gut lining, gently hit the subscribe button and like this video so we can continue exposing these crucial biological truths together. You can literally import entirely new, fully functioning colonies of highly beneficial bacteria into your completely starved digestive tract simply by eating a very small portion of cold, shredded cabbage. An incredible 2020 clinical study published in the highly respected journal Cell meticulously tracked 36 human participants over 10 full weeks and discovered that consuming raw sauerkraut introduced 19 entirely new, previously undetected bacterial strains directly into their clinical stool samples. Most standard dietary interventions only temporarily feed the specific bacteria that are already currently living inside your system, which does absolutely nothing if your native internal populations have already been completely wiped out by years of poor diet or heavy antibiotic usage. Authentic, unpasteurized sauerkraut actively carries billions of incredibly robust, heavily diverse microorganisms that successfully survive the brutal journey through your stomach and permanently take up residence deep inside your lower colon, drastically altering your biological baseline. This intense influx of completely fresh, highly active microscopic workers immediately begins breaking down stubborn, highly complex carbohydrates that your body previously could not digest, permanently eliminating the severe, painful gas and chronic bloating that happens when food ferments improperly. Raw sauerkraut permanently expands your bacterial workforce. You are hiring new microscopic employees to do the heavy lifting. Firmly massage shredded green cabbage with natural sea salt until it heavily releases its internal juices, pack it extremely tightly into a glass jar, and let it ferment at room temperature for 14 days. The true biological miracle of fermented cabbage goes far beyond just the living probiotics, because the actual physical plant material itself actively forces your human cells to completely neutralize dangerous internal stress. A deeply fascinating 2019 study published in the prestigious Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences discovered that a specific compound in cabbage called sulforaphane forcefully activates a unique genetic pathway called NRF2, completely reducing oxidative stress directly in the gut lining by an astonishing 45%. Your sensitive intestinal cells are under a constant, absolutely relentless daily attack from floating free radicals, harsh environmental toxins, and heavily processed chemical food additives that slowly and systematically destroy their physical structural integrity over time. When the incredibly potent sulforaphane compound directly hits your gut, it literally enters the cellular nucleus and actively flips a biological master switch, forcing your own cells to rapidly produce massive, overwhelming quantities of their own highly protective antioxidant enzymes. This extraordinary two-pronged biological attack perfectly delivers billions of living beneficial bacteria to strongly populate your intestines, while simultaneously heavily fortifying the exact cellular soil those incredibly important bacteria need to securely attach themselves and permanently thrive. Sulforaphane turns your cells into antioxidant factories. You are biologically armoring your gut from the inside out. Always purchase raw, fully unpasteurized sauerkraut exclusively from the cold refrigerated section of your grocery store and eat exactly 2 heaping tablespoons alongside your heaviest daily meal. Standard pharmaceutical antibiotics completely carpet bomb your entire internal ecosystem and kill absolutely everything, whereas one common kitchen ingredient acts like a highly trained biological sniper that only heavily targets the dangerous pathogens. A remarkable 2019 clinical study published in the prominent journal Nutrients conclusively demonstrated that the potent compound allicin reduced dangerous colonies of Helicobacter pylori by a massive 88% in laboratory conditions, while completely ignoring the highly beneficial lactobacillus strains. When your primary care doctor lazily prescribes a standard course of broad-spectrum antibiotics, you are literally dropping a nuclear weapon directly onto your delicate microbiome, completely wiping out years of careful, highly intentional gut healing and leaving your system totally defenseless against future invasive infections. Raw, freshly crushed garlic exclusively contains the incredibly rare allicin compound, which specifically possesses the highly unique molecular intelligence required to actively hunt down and completely destroy the vicious bacteria that actively cause bleeding stomach ulcers and severe chronic inflammation. Because this incredible natural compound completely spares your heavily protected good bacteria, you can systematically and safely purge your internal ecosystem of aggressive, highly dangerous invaders without ever risking the severe, debilitating digestive collapse that traditionally follows heavy pharmaceutical interventions. Raw garlic is a highly selective natural antibiotic. It murders the dangerous pathogens while perfectly protecting the innocent bystanders. Crush 2 fresh cloves of raw garlic with the heavy flat side of a steel knife, and wait exactly 10 full minutes before consuming them to allow the allicin to fully activate. A prominent clinical researcher recently shocked the entire gastroenterology community by proving that heavily consuming pungent, smelly bulbs directly feeds the absolute most important anti-inflammatory bacterial species residing deep inside the human colon. A highly controlled 2018 study published in the British Journal of Nutrition discovered that the unique prebiotic fibers found in raw dietary garlic rapidly increased the vital internal populations of Bifidobacterium by up to 40% within a mere 3 weeks of consistent daily usage. You can swallow absolutely all the incredibly expensive, highly concentrated probiotic pills you want, but if you do not actively provide those delicate living organisms with their highly preferred molecular food source, they will rapidly starve to death and completely vanish from your system. Prebiotic fibers are completely indigestible by the human stomach, meaning they safely and fully travel entirely intact all the way down into the dark depths of your lower colon, where your highly crucial bifidobacteria are desperately waiting to aggressively ferment and completely consume them. By providing this extremely high quality, completely specialized microbial fuel, you allow your most protective, highly beneficial native bacterial strains to rapidly multiply, completely overcrowd the dangerous inflammatory species, and perfectly regulate your sensitive immune system from the inside out. Prebiotics are the mandatory fuel for your microbiome. You cannot grow a thriving garden in completely barren soil. Never consume your potent, freshly crushed raw garlic on a completely empty stomach. Always carefully mix it directly into a small spoonful of raw honey or eat it alongside a substantial meal to completely avoid severe stomach irritation. How does a completely unripe, heavily starchy tropical fruit manage to successfully deliver the absolute most powerful gut-healing compound on the planet directly to the exact location where it is most desperately needed? A groundbreaking 2022 clinical study published in the prestigious journal Gut Microbes conclusively found that the heavy resistant starch sourced directly from raw green bananas increased the internal populations of Faecalibacterium prosnitzii by an astonishing 300% in just 4 short weeks. The vast majority of the soft, sugary carbohydrates you heavily consume every single day are completely digested and heavily absorbed high up in your small intestine, violently spiking your blood sugar and leaving absolutely nothing but useless waste for your lower colon to process. Resistant starch is biologically incredible because its dense, highly complex molecular structure actively and completely resists all human digestive enzymes, allowing it to easily travel totally unbothered completely through your upper system until it finally reaches the absolute bottom of your digestive tract. Once it arrives perfectly intact inside your lower colon, it instantly becomes a massive, incredibly rich feast for your most highly protective, heavily anti-inflammatory bacteria, allowing them to rapidly explode in sheer population size and completely dominate your internal microbiome. Resistant starch completely ignores your upper digestive enzymes. It safely delivers the vital payload directly to the microbial workers. Purchase firm bananas that are completely bright green with absolutely zero yellow spots, and slice them incredibly thin to dehydrate in your oven as highly crunchy, entirely completely unsweetened daily snack chips. Imagine your highly active lower colon suddenly turning into a massive, heavily fortified molecular factory that constantly and automatically pumps out the exact microscopic chemical compound required to perfectly heal leaky gut syndrome. A comprehensive 2019 study published in the medical journal Gut conclusively demonstrated that the specific short-chain fatty acid called butyrate actively strengthened the highly fragile tight junctions between intestinal cells by a massive 55%, directly physically sealing the dangerous microscopic gaps. When your newly multiplied, highly active bacteria aggressively ferment the dense resistant starch from the green bananas, their intense metabolic process creates a massive chemical byproduct called butyrate, which serves as the absolute primary energy source for your delicate colon wall cells. As these heavily starved intestinal cells suddenly receive this massive, highly concentrated influx of perfect biological energy, they rapidly begin to forcefully regenerate, deeply sealing the terrible microscopic leaks that previously allowed highly dangerous toxins to constantly flood into your systemic bloodstream. This perfect, deeply harmonious biological chain reaction completely repairs your heavily damaged internal physical barrier, rapidly calming down your incredibly hyperactive immune system, and permanently eliminating the severe systemic body inflammation that has been completely ruining your daily life for years. Butyrate is the ultimate biological intestinal cell fuel. You are feeding the bacteria that literally rebuild your broken walls. Start incredibly slowly by consuming only 1/2 of a single green banana per day to completely allow your highly sensitive gut bacteria to safely adjust to the massive new fuel source without causing severe trapped gas. You absolutely do not need expensive, Completely useless pills to permanently fix your heavily damaged digestion. You just need the precise biological sequence of these cheap, highly targeted whole foods to deeply seal the intestinal lining and powerfully feed the bacterial ecosystem. To discover exactly how to properly combine these powerful gut healing foods with the correct daily eating windows, click the video